My name is Dr. Darla Rewers. I'm a holistic veterinarian. I've been practicing for almost 8 years, and including acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine and holistic therapies throughout my practice. Now I focus principally on acupuncture and herbal medicine to treat animals. At Ancient Arts, we treat the whole patient, and we do so usually with acupuncture and herbs. So this is a limited services facility, but I work in close conjunction with other veterinarians in the area, including other specialists, for meeting the needs of the patient so that we treat the whole patient and not just a symptom. So today we're treating Mugsy. Mugsy is a boxer bulldog mix, and he's about 2.5 years old. We used to treat him every few weeks for skin issues. He used to get a lot of skin breakouts where he'd have little bumps and scabs and rashes. And since he's been getting acupuncture and herbs, and we've been paying a lot of attention to his nutrition, he's cleared up. You can see his skin looks really nice right now. So this is really just a maintenance acupuncture. Now we only treat him about every 2 to 3 months. And he really does very well with the needles. And as you can tell, he's just a really good dog in general. But most dogs do really well with the needles. And kitties too, believe it or not. There's a lot of really strong acupuncture points that can help the immune system. So can help the immune system and the body to deal with allergies, which is Mugsy's issue, but including food sensitivities too, and also help the body deal with infections. So when his rashes were getting really bad, or when there was stress going on in the house and he had a little bit of digestive upset, we could tell that when we felt his pulses and looked at his tongue. From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, we used tongue and pulse diagnosis, as well as constitution, or looking at what we call the 5 elements as far as their personality and their breed. So certain constitutions or types of personalities and breeds have a predisposition at times for certain conditions and do better with certain meds than others. I'm going to do some spleen association points to help his immune system, and some stomach points and some lung points. And when I say these are lung points, what I really mean is that they are on the meridian, or the little highway that the energy runs on down the body. And each of these little highways or meridians are named for the different organs in the body, and they're all paired in teams, husband-wife teams, so to speak. And so each point on that meridian is a point that can be measured with an ohm meter. So they are points of lower electrical resistance and higher electrical conductance. So these points that were mapped out thousands of years ago on people and animals can actually be measured and confirmed today with an ohm meter. So right behind the shoulder blades here, I'm going to do some lung association points, which help the skin. In traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs and the lung meridians are associated with the skin. And so if we're having skin allergies, you see that little flinch that the muscle did? That's a very common reaction when you put an acupuncture needle in. And that's what they call a day Qi response, or the arrival of Qi, or energy. So that means that the body is responding, and the energy has come to that point to help smooth out the energy. In traditional Chinese medicine theory, whenever there is pain or disease, it's because the energy is not flowing smoothly along those meridians. So by stimulating certain points through acupuncture and through tway-nah, which is a specific type of traditional Chinese medicine massage, you can stimulate and smooth out or sedate the energy flow and help correct the imbalances. help alleviate pain and other diseases. So there's a lot of really specific anatomy that you need to know, and it's a little different on each animal. So in the state of Washington and in most states, acupuncture should only be done by a licensed veterinarian who has also gotten certified in acupuncture, veterinary acupuncture. These are spleen association points. Spleen is, in traditional Chinese medicine, very important for digestion and the immune system, which, as we know, even from standard medicine, what you eat. So your ability to digest your nutrition is going to have an impact on your immune system. Today, Mugsy's pulses were very strong because he's a strong dog, but his kidney points were the weakest. So I am going to also treat the kidney association points. And that little skin twitching that you're seeing there is what I mentioned as the Dai Qi response. And sometimes you'll see the needles wiggle a lot, even while they're laying perfectly still. And that's the body and the energy doing its magic, or bringing the energy to the point and smoothing it out. On areas where there's not much fur, sometimes you can have a little bit of redness where the needles are put in. That's pretty rare, but it can happen. These are very sharp needles. They're very special. They're all single-use needles. They're all individually wrapped. Sometimes they come in groups if you're going to use a lot of needles. Sometimes they come in groups. And they're all sterilized. So these are all sterile, just like surgical equipment would be. And in the state of Washington, acupuncture, for veterinary use at least, is considered a surgical process. So it's not just to be done by anyone. So they're very sharp, and they separate the tissue though as you insert it. Sometimes we use a little insertion tube to help dull or provide a little bit of other stimulation around where we're going to put the point in. But as you saw with Mugsy, most of the time they don't mind you putting these needles in at all. If they're very, very painful, or there's a lot of what we call stagnation, meaning that the Qi energy is not flowing smoothly and there's stagnation or sludging of that energy, then sometimes the points are very tender. And so sometimes even while we're pressing and finding the points, you'll see the skin twitch or you'll see a little muscle spasm. And so we can use that as part of our sort of diagnostic palette, if you will. We look at the tongue, we feel the pulses. On the first visit, we do a full physical exam from a Western or allopathic perspective, but then we also each time do a cursory physical exam, but the traditional Chinese medicine tongue and pulse diagnosis, along with feeling for what we call sure points, or sore points, where it's like their body saying, oh, sure, yeah, right there. So sometimes you see little skin twitches or little muscle spasms. And sometimes you just feel their body lean into you when you find a good spot for them. There are a lot of really good hip points. Acupuncture is very commonly used for hip dysplasia and arthritis. And so massage can be done too. And they generally will lean into you or kind of help show you. The dogs and the cats often too. Horses, even cows will often help show you where the massage and the gentle pressure feels good on their muscles. This is the bladder meridian, which runs all the way down the back. And again, that's the name of the meridian. Sometimes when you put a point in, one point along that meridian, because each one has its own name, other points along that meridian will start to have a little reaction from studies that have been done where they have looked at and looked for the meridians. They can actually find them, and they can find little tubules. Some of these little tubules, which are the meridians, actually enter blood vessels, and most of them will move with the flow of blood, but some of them run counter the flow of blood, and they actually run upstream. So the theory is that the acupuncture meridians and the energetic grid work of how the body is going to form, it's theorized that that's already in place when the embryo is starting to develop, and that's what helps guide the differentiation of all the cells. Generally, treatments last anywhere from a couple minutes on up to even 45 minutes, depending on what's going on. For little birds and young animals who have a lot of energy or are very young, they often don't need to have the needles in for very long. Or if you have really inflamed skin or a sort of hot infection, sometimes you don't need the needles in very long. You just release the heat and neutralize the energy, and you take the needles out and they're done. For someone like Muggsy here, who really enjoys his treatments, we'll leave the needles in for 20 minutes or more. On really old patients who don't have a lot of qi left, you're born with a certain amount, and whatever you're not replacing with really good nutrition and good clean air and nice clean water, that you're depleting from your own stores of energy. So as patients get older, sometimes they need a little extra time with the needles for the energy to arrive at those points to do what they need to do. There are a lot of really powerful points all around the toes. There's also a lot of really powerful points all around the stifle, which is equivalent to our knee, and around the elbows. So there are really good points right here for the immune system. Their skin has a lot more laxity to it. You know, you can move their skin around a lot more than what we have, you know. So they can move around a lot more with the acupuncture needles in than we would want to try if we're getting an acupuncture treatment ourselves. But as you can tell, I mean, he didn't mind having those put in at all. And even when his skin does the little twitching, that's a totally normal response. Some of the animals will full on take a nap and start snoring during a treatment. The acupuncture can be used for just about anything. Improving appetite, calming separation anxiety and other types of anxiety, can be used to treat seizures, even refractory sort of seizures that are not responding very well to the standard medications. And acupuncture can be used with regular medicine too. There's no reason you have to choose one or the other. Certain patients are going to respond better with different combinations of therapy. So the point is that there is another option, and acupuncture can be used for so many different things. Diarrhea, vomiting, lack of appetite, lack of energy, arthritis or lameness, can help broken bones to heal, can help infections to clear up, seizures and tremors, vestibular syndrome, or what people would think of as vertigo, or sometimes even stroke, paralysis, or even other spinal issues where the nerves are compressed along the spine. Each separate bone in the back here has nerves, segments of nerves that come between each set of bones. And each of those sets of nerves then has branches that go to the organs inside the body and up to the skin and to the muscles in between. So you can treat the internal organs through putting needles in the skin, because there are these feedback loops that are all based on the nerve anatomy or the neuroanatomy. So it's interesting that a lot of veterinary neurologists will get training in acupuncture because it is so useful for so many different neurologic conditions, including paralysis, where they can't walk or they're having difficulty walking, degenerative conditions, arthritis. And so some of the points are done at different times. So we not only put them in a particular way, but we'll often take them out in a particular way as well. So, for example, if someone is having seizures or where they're having, abnormal brain activity, then we'll move some of that energy away from their head and we'll put the needles in and take them out, moving away from the head. Acupuncture, your worst side effect, if you do it right, is that they're going to get relaxed and they're going to have pain relief. The acupuncture needles cause the body to release the natural painkillers and the natural calming hormones and brain chemicals. And they also then help the different nerves to communicate and the different hormones then to balance out. And that's how it works in the body.